Welcome to Superstitions and Traditions. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Trish.
And you are watching our cute little podcast about all of historical shenanigans and questionable people and just lots of good times had in the past that
All
shaped
kinds of stuff
us.
that you can imagine or not imagine. We're here to talk about.
We're going to talk about all of it and how it has shaped our lives today.
Yes.
This episode is on superstitions about whistling. And did you know it is bad luck to whistle pretty much anywhere?
I did not know that.
Well, we're going to talk about it.
Okay. I can't wait to hear more because I always wanted to be a good whistler. As a coach, I wanted to be one of those that could go and stop the world. But I never could.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
Because it would bring on bad luck.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, that explains that lengthy winning. Oh, wait. Never mind. Keep going.
Whistling in certain places at certain times in certain cultures is going to bring you bad luck. One of the places you never whistle is on a ship.
Really?
Stella already knew that, she said.
She did. We've talked about that a lot.
Yes.
Why? What's the thought behind that?
So it is bad luck to whistle on a ship because it challenges the wind and will evoke a storm. Or call a siren. Sometimes whistling will call a siren.
Like one of the
mermaids
that would come up and cause great damage to the... So how did that originate? What made them think that?
More than likely, the way this originated, the ancient Greeks had those ships that, you had lines of people paddling.
Yes.
I can't remember what they're called.
Yes.
But they used whistles to signal and time the enslaved galley paddlers.
Right.
So if you were whistling, it was a form of communication. To time and things like that.
Okay.
So random whistling that could confuse people and have you paddling in the wrong direction, I guess. Bad luck.
Run amok. Can't keep track of this whistle. There's many more.
I know. And now we're going backwards.
And now we have a siren coming up. I mean,
that's right.
Hey,
now we've
it makes
signaled the
sense
siren.
now that you've explained it.
Yes. The Royal British Army and the U.S. Navy both use whistles that are called bossums for different signaling to communicate with crew and other ships. So again, random whistling is just going to mess things up.
Oh gosh, yes. Only whistle if you have a reason.
That's right. You don't have a reason to whistle on that ship and you are not authorized to whistle on that ship. Don't whistle on that ship.
No whistling. We're going to put a stop to that.
And people don't like to be told what to do, so we had to, you're challenging the wind, and if you whistle, you are going to bring on a storm.
Because we know that
that makes more sense.
Whistling is just fluid dynamics or aerodynamics, the passing of air or fluid over a solid object that's going to cause the expulsion of a sound.
God, on my superstitions, you are going to bring science in, and you realize when it comes to superstitions, science ruined everything.
I love my science.
You taught it.
I did.
You encouraged other people. There is an
equation this long that you can use to identify different types of whistles and how they take place and the force of that air or that fluid over.
And that is probably what the Royal Army and the ancient Greeks and the U.S. Army used.
So when you said we were talking about whistling, I'm like,
oh, you know about it.
I mean, about my formula, but okay, it's for more of this standpoint, so I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I really do think that's what a lot of it is. If they were to say you can't whistle here because I'm the boss and I'm whistling, and when you whistle, it confuses people, and they're like whatever. But if you said you are challenging the wind and you are going to evoke a storm with your random whistling. Now that was something that terrified sailors. So they're like, oh, I can't do that. Well, no, that makes a whole lot more sense
you're
to
out
me.
There in the middle of nowhere. You don't want a random storm coming on. And the air is busy making its own little whistles as it does its aerodynamic and fluid dynamic.
And I'm sure that wind is always looking for a good challenge. So
So it's like, all right, bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. Watch this. That was cute. Watch what I can do.
That was a tiny whistle compared to mine. Look at the force I can bring. Okay.
So that is why it is bad luck to whistle on a ship.
Well, I can honestly say I never have, so I feel good about that.
Okay, good.
Okay, now I kayak, so...
You do kayak. Have you whistled on a kayak?
I'm trying to think back. I'm not a very good whistler, and I look kind of funny when I whistle. If I were a studly whistler, I may have, but I think I probably haven't. Not out of fear of conjuring up a storm or anything like that.
Or a siren.
Or a siren.
That will lure you to your death with its beauty. Or it was manatee. We're not real sure.
Nothing to be said for a way to go, but
I guess so. True that. Okay. So the Russians.
Okay.
Russians kind of believe the opposite. You didn't whistle on a ship in Russia if the wind was good and your sails were sailing and.
Okay.
However, yes, if it is quiet and there's no wind and you're just sitting there. Because you aren't on an ancient Greek ship with slaves to row for you. And you are solely dependent on the wind to move you.
Said for an alternative energy source.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Russians believed that whistling on a ship would call the wind to them.
Oh, okay.
However, that kind of hurt other areas in Russian life with whistling because they believed that a whistle could call the wind to you.
Okay.
You do not whistle inside of a house in Russia. It is bad luck and will cause a financial storm. You will lose all of your money and be forced into poverty if you whistle in a house. In Russia,
so it was like somebody like extremely rich, and then he whistled and he lost everything. I mean, how did that come to?
Maybe. I really couldn't find anything definitive to say why, other than they believed you could call on the winds if you were sailing. So I'm thinking that there must be an association between calling the wind on a boat with a whistle and doing it in a house.
Because maybe it's frustrated because it can't get in. If your house, because if you call on the wind, it can beat it from the outside.
Yes.
But it can't get inside to you to help. So it just, I don't know.
Or maybe.
I have no idea.
But a lot of Slavic countries believe whistling in a house will cause financial ruin. It will blow all of your money away.
Really? Oh, the foolishness.
I know it.
Only a fool.
There's also Russians believe, and Slavic countries believe in a intelligence equating to prosperity.
Okay.
Which is true. I mean, to an extent. And whistling is associated with frivolity and thoughtlessness. It's not hard work.
But they have not seen the formula that is used.
They don't know the formula that is used to whistle.
The importance of forced air current out through a small opening.
That is true. Now, if they knew that,
yes.
Maybe. Honestly, I think that there are just a whole lot of Slavic mamas that were like, oh, look what you've learned. Don't do that. You're going to blow all our money away.
Yes. Be quiet. I like that.
I think that's Czech Republic, Bosnia, all of those.
No,
it was just universal down there. Bulgaria, Poland, all of them. Like, no.
We're not having that.
It was bad enough when you learned to talk.
Heaven forbid you should start to play the trombone, because to trombone parents everywhere, young people playing a trombone is...
I mean, I have a trumpet player and a clarinet player.
But they are wonderful, because I've heard
them. They are.
Never were they bad.
Never. They are both really good at.
They really are now, but early stages.
That was my rule. I had a rule with my children. Join the band. I will support you. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Do not bring home a clarinet. Anything else. I hate the sound of a clarinet.
But the
it is
force
whiny.
of that air over that reed. There's an equation for that too. But
There is.
I mean,
Yes.
when you think about how that all came together, and she did that. She brought home
did.
the one you.
And the first thing she says to me is, "Listen, Mom, it's not because of Squidward on SpongeBob."
And it is, isn't it?
That was you would not have needed to say that to me if it wasn't. You chose the clarinet because you want to be like a bipolar cartoon character, a cartoon squid.
Everyone should have a hero.
Okay. I'm glad she does then, I guess. But yes, so I really think that's what it is. Those little,
Mama's got
those little Slavic
Mama's
mamas.
I know that was German, but it was
Yeah. With the whistling on the ship,
okay.
there is also, it is bad luck to whistle in a theater, which carries over from the ship because the old theaters, when they first introduced the fly rails
Okay.
in the 1600s, you know, that will, all of the scenery drops
Yes.
and you tie it and rig it and all of that stuff. They hired off-season sailors as stagehands because they already had a mastery of
Knots.
the knots and the rigging with ropes.
Yes,
they could do
right.
this. So whenever their scenes started to fly and sail, they needed the sailors.
Sailors, yes.
Well, the sailors communicate with the whistles,
okay.
as it was one of, you know,
One of their little
one of the
ships.
communications. So they would, and the director, that's how they would signal to drop
up and
the
down
next,
would
you
be
know.
is it a
with-
whistle like that, or is it
There's
a
different
whistle?
whistles.
So you can make a whistle,
Yes.
or you can just do it
Or you can just do that as long as you know the
right
right way.
right the tone. Okay.
yeah. So that's how they would signal when to change the scenery. If you are whistling at random, you might have a scene fall on your head and you could be taken out by your whistle.
Oh, there could be
Or have your friend
Yes.
taken out by the whistle.
Or sometimes it could be strategically placed to take care of that friend you've had
That's
issues
right.
with.
Right.
Okay.
So it
All
could
right.
signal all sorts of things with whistles. And the sailors already had that. Oops, we don't whistle because they were trained to listen for
There's
the whistles of the
specific
wind
whistle,
and, you
right.
know,
Yes,
other
yes.
things. So in addition to their ropes and rigging, they are tuned to hear
So
specific
if I'm
whistles.
a sailor whistling in a theater, I'm okay if I'm using it for purposes.
For the
it's
purpose,
random
yes.
whistling that was bad. So if
Yes,
you
and
came
the
in,
sailor, just like on the ship, the sailor's not going to be the one that whistles. It's going to be the director.
the director will whistle at the
At
sailor.
the sailor to signal, just
Okay.
like on the Royal British Army and the U.S. Navy and the ancient Greeks, their whistles meant something, and it wasn't the sailors or the rowers that were
Right.
whistling, it was the boss.
Just like when the coach whistles to stop play,
Yes.
and then the coach says to you one more time, all athletes know it is not one more time. You've got at least 40 or 50 of those left. And they will all be said, okay, we're going to do it one more time until we get it right. And you know that's not it.
And you
Okay,
know that's not it.
Or
But,
the whistle
you
that's
know,
used to
there's-
stop play.
Right.
Okay.
There's
If someone else
probably-
is whistling, then the player's going to think that whistle came from,
Uh-huh.
and they're going to stop. Okay, all right, I'm getting
So,
it.
It's not that it's, I mean, that is bad luck right there.
Well, yes,
if
it
you
is.
whistle and
Although,
a scene falls on top of your head and knocks you unconscious, that is not good luck.
no, it is not good luck.
So that one makes sense.
Yes, it very much makes sense.
Bad luck. Don't do it. Don't whistle on a basketball court.
Just don't whistle.
Just don't whistle.
Forget that whole thing, whistle
By the
while
time
you
we're
work.
done.
Where did that come from? Do we know?
Those little dwarves on
So dwarves
Snow White.
can whistle.
While they work. Actually,
As long as
more
they're
than
not
likely-
sailors.
So, more than likely, that very well could have been
From the-
influenced because on a ship, they expect the cooks on the ship to whistle. So, they're just whistling little
There's too many
tunes.
rules. Too many
Yes.
rules. Okay.
But if the cook is whistling, then you know he's not eating the other shipmates' rations. So
was this a big issue back then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's the only exception to whistling on a ship is the cook is allowed to. Because then he can't whistle and eat at the same time. So he's in there with your food, fixing your food, and he's fixing everybody's food because he's whistling. If he's not,
he could be eating
the food, and you're going to starve to death. So it's good luck to hear a cook whistle, I guess.
So if you go to a restaurant
in the kitchen, it's good luck to whistle. Okay. People aren't coming after you if you're whistling in the kitchen. You whistle while you work.
Oh, this is so fascinating, I say.
I know, it's just odd. So the big one, though, is whistling at night. Cultures all across the world have theories about bad omens or death or summoning devils or things like that because of whistling at night. Japan, they believe if you whistle at night, you can summon snakes or the ghost of criminals. Because old Japan, before there's lights on streets and things like that.
Okay.
So way back when, ancient Japan, there was criminal activity that was signaled by whistles. They would signal each other with whistles for their human trafficking, their robbery, their whatever nefarious things they were doing in the dark. Gotcha. So if you whistle at night,
right,
maybe you could be arrested. I don't know. You're a criminal.
Right,
but
because that would be a way of
communicating.
Okay.
That one is one that I could trace definitively back to this.
Okay.
That to make sense. The others, however, a lot of Asian countries think it's bad luck. China and Korea believe you attract ghosts that will follow you home and haunt your house if you whistle at night. Turkey, Australia, Thailand, they believe you are summoning the devil. Native American, our indigenous tribes, all have different beliefs about whistling at night and attracting skinwalkers, or Hawaii and Mexico have the same thing. They all have specific names. I didn't even write them down because I can't say those words.
Understood.
I can barely speak English most of the time. But they believe that you are signaling to these demonic entities with your whistles. As far as
if you whistle at night.
Okay. It's kind of traced back to the whistling mimics sounds of owls.
Okay. Yes,
which are nighttime, nocturnal birds that have their screeches and their whistles and the whatever. But owls in a lot of indigenous cultures were seen as harbingers of death.
Right.
So if you heard an owl whistle so many times outside your house, or if an owl landed or it crossed your path, or every culture has their own thing with the owl, but basically the owl means somebody's going to die.
A death of something.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you whistle outside at night in these cultures, you are signaling to whatever. There was also, I think it was Mexico specifically, had a skinwalker type creature that would present in the form of an owl.
Oh, really?
So
by whistling, you would call
her to you,
and then she'd
whistle back, and then
all hell would break loose.
Yep. Skinwalkers in Native American cultures, Lakota primarily, I think Cherokees have skinwalker. A lot of cultures do, but they are malevolent forces that can shapeshift, and a lot of them believe they are bad people that had died, the souls of bad people.
Okay.
And they are out to get you. And so when you see one, I mean, that one of the big things is you don't acknowledge one when you see one. And you certainly don't whistle at night, because then you call it to you.
So if you just stay quiet at night, no whistling, then they will leave you alone, even if you cross paths with one.
Right. Yeah. And as long as you don't acknowledge it when you cross paths with one, you don't stare at it, you don't point it out,
you don't whistle.
You don't whistle at it, you are safe.
Okay. Well, that is very
It's
interesting.
that double take. Like, did I just see what I thought I saw? That
And then
person with an owl head,
Uh-huh.
and
Then
then
you
they're
go.
like, "Oh, hey, you really want to see me?" And then you're done for.
Okay.
So, lots of summonings happening with those evil whistles
I had no
in the
idea
nighttime.
because my grandma taught me how to whistle, so I had no idea what she was,
Well, your
what
grandma,
path she was leading me down.
was it Grandma Lottie?
Yes, Grandma.
Oh,
Lottie.
Grandma Lottie was not Indian.
Well, she said she. Yes, but all of the things
Right.
that she did
Compared
but we
to
cannot-
the side of the family we got our native cards, our
Yeah.
CDIB numbers from.
Yes. Yes.
She looked a lot more Indian than they did,
Yes.
but she was
Enacted.
not.
Yes.
Enacted, yes.
Yes.
But she was not.
Right.
Don't tell her she was. She does
Yes.
not want to hear that.
Right. She was a mess. I was gonna whistle.
Whistle for you might bring her.
Oh.
And the UK,
Okay.
they have a superstition about the seven whistlers. So the seven whistlers are sometimes seven birds that fly at night that whistle prior to a disaster. So if you hear these birds at night, these specific seven birds at night, then you know something bad is going to happen.
What kind of bird? Any bird?
Oh, there are specific. The Whimbrel, Lapwing, Curlew are the most prominent.
Okay.
But others have, other regions have different birds. But those are the three most prominent.
Okay. So 7 of them together. I mean, 7.
Sometimes.
Just 7 birds. What if there's more than?
You're probably safe.
Okay.
It is specifically these 7 birds.
Okay.
And it's different birds by culture or by region, but the most common are the Whimbrel, the Lapwing, or the Curlew.
Okay.
And I have...
Don't you wonder what happened? That 7 birds of those species whistled at night, and then something happened to lead to this superstition.
You're gonna
tell me?
I am
Okay.
gonna play these whistles.
Oh.
Okay, this one is the Curlew. I mean, you hear that at night, that's pretty creepy.
That is pretty creepy.
I would be scared of that too.
But was that 1 or 7?
That was 1.
Okay. 7 together could be
Very creepy. Yes.
Especially if they were at the same.
I didn't mean for it to play, and now I can't make it stop.
But I love it, and running water in the background too.
That is the Whimbrel. Also kind of creepy.
Kind of creepy. Yeah.
And so 7 times. Hearing 7 of those.
Right.
At one time.
Okay, so what did they think would happen? Like it just bad luck, or?
It meant some kind of disaster, a death or a disaster was going to occur. Here's the last one. This is the Lapwing. You want to hear that by time 7 in the middle of the night?
Oh, that was.
It sounds like something's dying.
It does. I'm so sad for you. Oh, honey.
Oh.
Oh. Oh. Turn him off.
So, I mean, I
So that was the
understand.
Curlew or the Lapwing?
That one was the Lapwing.
Okay. Oh, poor little
So,
thing.
yeah. I mean, that's going to be scary. You hear
Yes.
those sounds
Yeah.
times
Oh, yeah.
7. You were like, I'm staying home.
Right.
I'm
Not going anywhere.
Nope.
Not going out.
It was primarily listened for in the coal mines.
Oh.
In 1862, in Hartley, there was a coal mining accident and 204 people died. 204 miners. Other people had claimed to have heard the 7 whistlers the night before.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
skip to 1874.
Okay.
In Bedsworth, there was a mass walkout of a mine because a few people said they had heard the seven whistlers the night before. So, like, they packed up, okay, we don't need to be here. Like, it was recorded in the Coventry Herald, a newspaper at the time of this mass walkout, because a couple of people
hear the birds.
And so they're like, hey, I heard them last night. So they're telling their friends, and then everybody's just like, I'm going home.
And this is something where people needed to work and wanted to work. So there was a fear there. It wasn't just I need a day off. Right. It was a definite.
It was these were, in their mind and their culture, these are real things, and if you hear it or somebody hears it in that area, something bad is going to happen in that area, and you pack up and you go home.
And you go home and stay safe.
Yeah. There's also, in a few regions, there's only 6. It's still called the seven whistlers, but there's only 6 birds, and they fly around at night looking for their 7th bird. And sometimes they mistake people for their bird, and if you call to them, then
you become one of them.
You become one. So,
okay, well, that doesn't sound so bad.
I mean, if you want to make that noise for the rest of your life, I guess that's not so bad.
Not so bad. Okay.
I don't want to fly around screeching like that. Although it could be fun to scare people.
I mean, think about it. I mean, it's like...
Could be a good time. I would sit right outside my kids' bedroom window. Like,
Mom's here again. Shoot. Mom and Aunt Trish are outside the window.
I told you right after Grandma passed, which it was a cardinal. It had nothing to do with whistling or these birds, but my sister and I were sitting outside at my house on my deck, and this little male cardinal landed, and so Ashley, was Grandpa. We talked to it for a minute, and then this female cardinal landed next to it on the rail, and Ashley says, "Oh, Grandma's here."
Oh.
And that female cardinal took off so fast, smack into the side of my house, and died.
Oh!
Like, not even into a window or anything. Just right into...
So, do you think it was the fact that Grandpa was there and Grandma saw Grandpa, so she was like, oh, or did Ashley?
I think Grandma heard, oh crap, they know it's me.
I was just gonna spy on them.
Ashley and now they know. Ashley said, what just happened? I'm like, that was Grandma, and she's still sick of your shit. She ain't in the mood.
Not messing with that. Not messing. Well, you know that after Karen, your Aunt Karen, her first husband died, there was a cardinal that hung out on the back porch of Mom and Daddy's house for the longest time, and it stayed for I can't remember how long, but I mean, Mom and Dad were convinced that, and Karen, that was Donnie that was coming back to check on things, but he didn't run into the house.
Well, we were convinced that because the male one had been around for a while. It just happened this time to come land and sit on the railing of the deck, like that far from us. I'm like, oh, it really is Grandpa. And then this little female, I'm like, oh, and Ashley's like, oh, look, it's Grandma. And then Grandma's like, crap. I didn't want them to notice me.
They don't know how tired I am. I just wanted some time alone to hang out with Grandpa, be alone. Now they know who I am.
Crap.
Oh, that's cute.
But back to the seven whistlers.
Oh, okay.
That it was a serious, especially in the coal mines.
Oh, yeah.
And just rural areas were firm believers in the seven whistlers in the UK also. So when you heard those creepy birds hollering,
I would have to think if I heard that bird, something bad was going to happen.
You were not leaving your house the next day.
Yes.
We're staying here where we're safe.
Yes.
And it was such a prominent belief that even there's poetry written about them.
Really?
Even William Wordsworth has a poem about the seven whistlers.
Really? Do you know the poem? But they were trying so hard to explain things then that just... I think, could not be understood. So there had to be some type, in their mind, some reason for
Right.
that to happen, something that caused that event, not just the fact that, coal mines aren't safe. Especially weren't safe in 1862.
Right.
And,
This was pre-workers' rights.
yes. You were just expected to go down there, and conditions were bad, and people died every day. But
OSHA wasn't even pretending like they cared.
Nuh-uh. So when you have, 204 killed at one time, there had to be something. I guess in order maybe that if they could figure out the why it happened, then they could maybe at least think they could find a why they might be safe. If we could just stay out when we hear the 7,
Yeah.
then it's going to be a little better.
We got
My odds of living have increased slightly.
Thanks.
Yes.
Most of these, the curlew, the whimbrel, they were, you probably know the official word, but they are birds that kind of stay around water.
Water birds.
Waterfowl. Is that there's
a waterfowl, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, some are aquatic too, actually, where they can swim and they have the little adaptations.
Yeah,
these
aren't
are
those.
Just those
they
in
just
the area
stay
around
in
estuaries
Yeah.
and in the areas on the outside. Yeah, because there's lots of different species of aquatic birds.
And this one they're not technically aquatic.
Because they don't.
But is there a word for stays close to the water because they like the view but don't really play in it? Is there a scientific?
I'm gonna ponder on that one, and then I'll get back with you on that one.
I don't know why else
they just like the view of the
they
river.
like the view. All right, here's Wordsworth describes in part of a sonnet about a poor old man who nevertheless hath wakening empire wide as dreams, since rich are his walks with supernatural cheer. He the 7 birds hath seen that never part, seen the 7 whistlers on their nightly rounds, and count them, and oftentimes will start. For overheard are sweeping Gabriel's hounds, doomed with their impious lord, the flying hart, to sweep forever on aerial grounds. Supernatural cheer. I don't. Maybe he didn't know what cheer meant.
I was a little confused by the
yeah, but
the antagonistic point of view there. But hey,
whatever. He needed a dictionary.
Yes.
He thought cheer meant dread, I guess. But yes, he wrote a poem about a man who had some bad luck and heard the birds. The 7.
So he heard the birds, then he had the bad luck. Supernatural cheer.
Yeah, supernatural cheer. Rich are his walks with supernatural cheer.
Maybe
so apparently he heard them often.
That like to dwell in that area.
We all know those people. Several other poets wrote about the 7 whistlers. It is a prominent by death.
They were. Yes, they were extremely fascinating.
So 1864, that would have been Victorian era.
But you're still trying to explain all of that.
Yes, and you can't take a picture so anyway, there was lots of whistling. Whistling, just don't do it.
No,
it's an annoying sound anyway.
And I look funny when I whistle. And I can't make a loud whistle, so it's.
I can whistle.
Can you whistle?
Yeah, I just don't like the noise. I don't.
You don't like that sound it makes when you force air over?
I don't. And no matter how I plug in that equation.
Then you get the whistling at women catcalls. That's not a good thing either. So don't be.
That's bad luck for you right now too. So
don't be doing that. That's bad.
So we don't ignore it anymore. I don't think.
So just listen to nature's own beautiful whistles.
Right. Except those guys. Those 7. Those 7 ones.
Don't listen to those. That's true. Only during did you have to see the birds at night? Because they were nocturnal birds.
You didn't necessarily see them.
Hear them. You had to hear them. If you heard them during the day, which they probably were. Were they more of a.
I don't know if they were. I don't think those are nocturnal birds.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound that way when you look at them.
Yeah.
But
so hearing them at night, I think, is the
they
specific.
were out of their. That might be what it was, because they were flying at night instead of during the day. So there had to be a reason they were out looking for some type of destruction or devastation.
I don't know. Maybe running.
You hear them during the day, life is good. Just go on about your business.
That's typical. They're supposed to.
Okay.
But it's specifically hearing them at night. That is a forewarning of disaster.
If everyone would just stay in their homes at night and not whistle.
Well, but you're also talking at this time, there's not white noise and air conditioners and like real sturdy windows. So even if you are inside,
you can still hear them.
You are hearing.
Oh, okay. You were just doomed.
Yeah. I mean, now you can
get by with it. You can come in.
You can rationalize it. You can ignore it.
Phones, play the television.
You can not have heard that. At this time, you were hearing everything.
So, did you come across any positive uses for whistling? Besides, I mean, I know when they were using it for synchronization and when they were using it to do that, but just for the, I mean, just for a common everyday person.
I found the whistling in the morning might be good luck in a few cultures.
Okay.
But whistling in a graveyard, whistling in the woods, whistling on a boat, whistling in a theater, whistling in a coal mine, whistling outside at night, with just
bad.
Everything
so
else.
You're not a cook.
In the morning, and if you are cooking on a ship. Otherwise, just
don't whistle.
Ignore that scientific equation. You don't even need to know it.
And it's a lost art anyway.
It is a lost art. All right. Well, there is what we have on whistling. Just don't. I mean, unless you are cooking on a ship.
I was going to say, unless you're cooking on a ship.
Or directing a play in the 1600s, then it's probably okay. As long as you are directing.
If you're coaching.
You can if you're coaching.
Officiating.
Or reffing.
Yes. If you're officiating, you need to have your whistle.
You've got to have, because nobody's listening to you if you don't whistle.
Right. So there's no difference between if it's just a mouth whistle or if you have a whistle. No. Does it still bring bad luck? Or because they had reed whistles and all that other stuff.
They did.
So it didn't matter how you were whistling, just the fact that you were whistling. It's not
right.
It comes through the buccal cavity.
In most cultures, it either stemmed back to folklore about a specific bird or owl, shapeshifter, skinwalker, something like that, or there were specific reasons to whistle, and if you were randomly whistling, you were going to cause a boat to capsize.
Just chaos.
Yes.
Don't mess up the natural flow of the universe.
Yes.
This is when you...
And I honestly think it was just people, probably like now, there's some kind of defiance there when you tell them you can't do this. And they're like, oh, but watch. Yes, I can.
Yes, I
can.
And
so they had to come up with some kind of deterrent.
Right.
And when you are on a boat in the middle of the ocean with no land visible, a storm is a huge deterrent.
Yes. And if you happen to be whistling and then the storm comes up, it's on you.
Yeah. And why they really believed they had that power, I don't know. But, I'm glad somebody thought they did. And
right. That is exactly right. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
I love it.
All right. You guys be sure to subscribe so you can come back and hear more.
Okay. Will this be out before the new year?
This will be out on the new year.
So do those blowers count?
Oh, okay. So this comes out the 31st. It is okay to have your blower inside the house as long as you are not in a Slavic country. They don't like that.
Okay. So on, everyone.
Yes, here in the U.S., probably the UK is okay. I have a lot of people in Finland that listen.
Can they get their blowers out?
Finland is Scandinavian. It's not Slavic, so probably. You guys are probably okay too.
Okay, all right. So we can party on New Year's Eve.
Party on New Year's Eve with your blowers. Are those even whistles? Do you think those are whistles?
Well, it's not really a whistle, but I didn't know because it was the force of air over that makes that noise, but it doesn't really, it's the coming out of it that does. So I didn't know if that would be close enough for the people that deem it as a whistle.
If you're on a ship,
that,
don't do it.
It will make that noise, but which is technically not a whistle because it technically not.
So,
yes.
so just if you have Slavic friends, don't do it inside.
Right. Okay.
And if you have Native friends, don't do it outside at night.
Because it's technically not a whistle, but I didn't want any misunderstandings there.
Yeah. We don't want to confuse any creatures or soul suckers or skinwalkers or anger Slavic mamas. So, US, UK, Finland, y'all go.
Knock yourselves out.
Inside.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. Subscribe so you can hear more life advice from us.
And Happy New Year's to all.
Happy New Year.